Good morning, everyone. Sue here at Blue Heron Hill. I'm in the kitchen again, and this is what we are doing. I have peaches to can because it is the height of peach season here in New York State, and I have to get peaches on my shelves down in my pantry. It is a cool 68 degrees outside. Oh my goodness, who would have thought in August we would have such wonderful cool weather? So perfect time to heat up the kitchen and not really suffer too many ill effects. So come along with me and I will show you briefly how I can peaches. It's very easy, and boy do they taste good in the dead of winter. Okay, I'm starting with a sink full of peaches. I'm washing them. It's always best to wash them. You never know what type of chemicals that may be on it. I do a soak, a rinse, and then I put them back into water. A lot of people find canning peaches a little tedious because you need to take the skins off. It's kind of like with tomatoes. You have to sometimes submerge them in hot water, take them out, put them in cold water, and just to slip the skins off. But I skip that step. I want you to see how easy it is to take these skins off, these peaches, and skip that boiling water step. Who wants to heat up the kitchen any more than that? Okay, here I have my discards. I've got a peach. I score it around its midline here. You can see there's a natural indent through here. These are freestone peaches, which means the stone inside comes right out. But I'll just take this peach and just pull back the skins. See how easy that is? There's no need to slip them in hot water. Only, and here's the caveat, if they are nice and ripe. If they are underripe, then the skins are harder to slip off. So these are going to go into a bowl of water that has a little bit of lemon juice in it, and that will help it from turning brown. Freestones, the stone slips right out, and I'll do this for you right again. See how easily. Sometimes I try and play a little game with myself to see if I can get it all off in one entire peel. Easy, skip that step of putting them into boiling water. I often find too, with the boiling water, you start to cook the outside of the peach, and it makes it a little bit more soggy. So I have a sink full. I think I got an 8-quart basket, and I'm going to see how many quarts I can get out of this 8-quart basket. So I got a sink full of peaches to peel. I'm not finished cutting up the peaches yet, but I want to start jarring them up. On my stove, I have some light syrup warming up to dissolve the sugar. I just use a light syrup with my fruits. I figure we don't need that much sugar in the diet. I can them in halves, and they, with the cut side down, they seem to stack very nicely in jars. I use wide mouth because then I can get my hand in here. Sometimes I will cut these up into quarters to fit the jar better. Put them in there. And you want them to about 1 inch headspace. On to cutting up some more so I have more jars to fill up. I'm going to definitely make 7 so I can fill up my canner with 7, and I'll probably have leftover peaches, and I'll show you what I do with those. Here we are. I have 2 peaches left, and I managed to get 7 quarts out of that 8-quart container that I bought at the market. Very good. I'm going to write that down so I know exactly how many jars can come out of an 8-quart container, which I guess is a half a peck. So we're going to, we have the light syrup here. Now, my light syrup is rather dark, but that's because I use cane sugar and not the white refined sugar. But it's still just the same. So my peaches are to within a ½ inch of the top, and you are going to then ladle your hot light syrup, as I do, to within a ½ inch of the top. I will come along and I will debubble. Since these are all on the cup side down, there definitely will be airspace underneath all of these peaches. So got to be very careful to adhere to that step in canning. Here's my debubbler of choice, a chopstick. Kind of always use wooden or plastic, never metal, because it can score the jars and make a fracture point. So I could see a lot of air bubbles coming up here. And so I know I need to fill my headspace on a few of these jars. I'm pushing the peaches back down. This definitely needs more. This little bit, that's good, and that is good. Take a clean cloth, and since this is so syrupy, I'm dipping it in a little vinegar. I don't need to add any citric acid to this at all because I had lemon juice in their little water bath beforehand. On go the lids, and I will put the rings on, fingertip tight. So when it what I do is when the jar starts to move, then I'll just give it just a tiny bit more. Jar moves, just a tiny bit more. Okay. Into the canner they go. Okay, here's my steam canner. Fit 7 wide mouth jars, no problem. Put the lid on. Make sure that's seated tightly. And we're going to turn on the heat below and let it warm up. You can see for my elevation, it's this dark green here, and we're going to let this go for 30 minutes. And I'll be back when we pull them out. Now back to the sink. We've got peach water here, which has a little lemon in it. We have peach skins. You can actually ferment these, and you can make a vinegar out of these. I've never tried it, but we have pigs, and they love treats, so they're getting this. They are not getting the pits, and those will just go into the trash. They're not compostable. They're never going to break down. So don't throw this away. I have a little bit of the light syrup, so I'm just going to add this to this. Just a couple scoops. It's about a cup and a half right there. Oh, so good. So good. Just the right amount of sugar in this is perfect. Might even add a little nutmeg or something like that. Makes a nice refreshing drink. I think I'll put some ice cubes in here. A couple things I wanted to tell you. If I had more peaches left over, what I would have done was I'd cube them up, maybe 1-inch cubes, put them on a sheet of parchment paper on a cookie sheet, put them in the freezer, and flash freeze them for use later on in smoothies or crisps or pies or anything like that. Fortunately, I had 2 left over, and they're actually going to go into a dessert later on today. Another thing, as I was pouring this sweet peach juice into a quart jar to save for later, this was one of my quart jars that has a nick in the rim. When that happens, I don't want to throw away the quart jar. It's still good for a lot of things. So I usually put a rubber band around the neck of it to alert me the next time I go down to get jars for canning that I don't pull this one up and accidentally, can it up with something, and then when I go to put the lid on, I think, oh no, I gotta get another one out. So I usually put a rubber band around the outside. These are perfectly good to store dried goods in, and they can even vacuum seal. If you have a vacuum sealer, one of those things that'll seal an old lid right onto the jar. This jar isn't quite nicked all the way through the rim, so it should hold a seal. But it does have this nick over here that if you pressure canned, I'm sure this would be a fail. So there's a tip, and it works just as well. It works just as well with a plastic top on it, or I can go and put a ring and an old metal top on it. This is going in the refrigerator, and we're going to be drinking this in the next couple days. So here I have my sweet refreshing drink, my peach juice. I put in some basil in here with a bunch of ice cubes. I'm going to sit down and maybe read my book. So, and because I have 25 minutes in this canner, and I don't think it's not quite up to temperature yet. So I have a little bit of time before I start my next project for filling the pantry. Okay, be back when I pull these out. There they are, 7 quarts of peaches for the pantry. Up next will be salsa. You're not going to want to miss that one. Probably out in a couple days. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, comment down below what fruits do you can for your pantry. So until the next time you can join me in the kitchen prepping for my pantry or out in the garden digging in the dirt. Happy gardening. Bye.